Hi there, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity for speaking today. My name is Paul Daly. I'm the Sensoteq APAC Regional Sales Manager, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our China market experience from a Sensoteq point of view. So, as I said, I represent Sensoteq. They're a Northern Ireland-based technology company. We deliver end-to-end condition monitoring solutions that enable smarter maintenance decisions, powering safer, more efficient and more sustainable industrial operations for our clients. So we combine ultra-low powered wireless sensors with a cloud-based machine health intelligence platform, and that provides continuous asset monitoring, early fault detection, and intelligent diagnostics. So basically that empowers the maintenance, reliability, and operation teams within the clients, giving them actionable performance insights for their equipment. So today, our solutions are deployed in over 50 countries across the various industries, energy, mining, aggregates, pharmaceuticals, automotive, food and beverage, and many more different sectors. So we support these organizations as they move towards from reactive maintenance to predictive data-driven asset management. So with that, we've actually worked with the West Northern Ireland now for over a decade. And they've been quite instrumental in supporting our international growth. You know, from that early stage development through to global expansion, we've leveraged their expertise, their network and in-market presence, and quite simply, they've been the key enabler in establishing our footprint across those 50 countries. So then, when we look at China, why China? There's probably two factors when we look at the China market. One, firstly, is the scale. It's simply unmatched, particularly in the manufacturing and heavy industry sectors, which is really our key focus. And secondly, there's a strong digital push for predictive maintenance, which aligns directly with our offering and our client base. So it makes sense for us. So when we look then at the China market and our approach, it's actually been quite focused. You know, we specifically didn't go in broad. We started with pilot projects, specific sectors, and often with multinational customers who had already built trust with elsewhere in the world. From there, we then build those local partnerships for distribution and support. And importantly, we then adapt our solutions to meet the local regulatory requirements and data requirements of the clients. Now, so in China, our growth has been quite progressive. It's not overnight, and it has been with continued support from the Invest Northern Ireland team. And I guess China, for us, it's not just a sales market, it's an innovation market. You know, customers are quite often willing to trial new technologies and trial them quickly, which has helped us redefine and strengthen our products globally as well. Now, it doesn't come without our challenges and the business factors that influence working in China. You know, if I think about a few things, you know, one of the factors is speed. You know, when we're dealing with the clients in China, once trust is established, projects can actually move very fast. Decisions that might take months elsewhere can actually be taken and move quite quickly in weeks. It's also, secondly, it's a very relationship-driven market. It's very important to build that trust. Obviously, we look at contracts and contacts, but it's the relationships that really enable the business to happen. You know, so yeah, there's also, with it being China, there's an expectation about localization, and that can mean different things to different companies and different products. For us, the customer expects local language support, local cloud and hosting, and solutions tailored to their specific needs. The other factor that makes China quite unique is the digital ecosystem. It's very different. And you know, we're used to emails, we're used to phone calls, we're used to maybe WhatsApp as well. China's a little bit different. You know, they use WeChat socially. They also use it for business communication, for support. They use it for even commercial discussions. So we have to adapt with that because that's how their market goes. Also, even like some of the apps that we use in China, like Alipay, it's totally essential. You can't just grab an Uber in China. So Alipay lets you pay for your transport, lets you pay for food, and other communications and other services within China. So it is quite unique how that we have to work with the China clients. I guess with that in mind as well, obviously there are various barriers that we've had to overcome, like most companies. One of the biggest ones for us would probably be data hosting and cybersecurity. It can be quite daunting, and the conversations and the complexities of those conversations. We need to understand quite clearly what the client requirements are with regard to data management and the cloud architecture. And there's a bit of an old cliche: what happens in China stays in China, literally. So the data can't leave. So our solution there basically is just working with those local partners to ensure that we understand those security compliance issues and the process thoroughly. We discussed it in the early stages so that we don't have any surprises later on in the project. And then really the solution there is that we use in-country hosting if necessary. One of the other areas of challenge is just the access to the market. China's huge. It's very, very difficult to reach all those end customers directly. My first trip to China, and we're on bullet trains traveling around the countryside, and the cities just go on forever. It's really, really huge. It kind of blew me away. So the way to get around that obviously is just to partner with local distributors, local integrators that have already got proven relationships. So far we've looked at global partnerships that we already had in place, and then look for a local identity that maybe was working in China that we could review and maybe put opportunities with. We also have had incoming direct inquiries directly to us for projects or for companies that want to represent us. But we look at both of them in the same way. We do whatever background checks we can do. We check the track record. We have Teams intro calls. We basically don't jump in blind. Ideally, we want to meet the client as soon as possible. And in my opinion, this presents a much clearer picture. When you meet the client face to face, you can read the body language, you can see the facility, and you can get a better understanding for the opportunity. Another aspect would be cultural differences. Obviously, misalignment in expectations, maybe communication. And the way we cope with that is really just investing time, regular Teams calls, in-person visits, and relationship building again. Currently, I have short monthly Teams calls with the key clients, and I plan a visit to China at least once a year. During that week or 2 weeks, it's honestly non-stop. We visit an awful lot of clients. It's bullet trains here, there, and everywhere, planes as well, and we just sleep wherever we can. It works for us. We obviously try to get as much of the opportunity in the time that we're there. As the projects and the client progress, we'll pick up the in-person meeting frequency. Culturally, it's very important that we build trust through that contact. Last but not least would be the IP protection. Always a concern when you've got a technology or a product in a new market. Again, quite simple. To protect our IP, we look at structural agreements, we look at NDAs to retain control over the core IP that's being shared. So we work at it quite logically to make sure that we keep ourselves protected. Then when we're looking at China, one of the early examples with our projects in China, we actually used a solution for a client that we had elsewhere in the world. We knew they had an identity in China. We made contact with the China site, and they gave us the opportunity to do a pilot. That pilot gave us a bit of a foothold in the market, allowed us to work through the local requirements, and ultimately led to broader opportunities, not just with that customer, but also with local partners who saw the value in the solution that we had in action. But it was good to just leverage that global customer contact and then get yourself into China, even though it's a different identity. So the kind of start small, prove value, then scale. It's worked quite well for us in the China market. If we think about China marketing, we haven't really used China marketing channels for promotion yet, but it's primarily due to the niche clients that we target. It's probably early stages, and we're not really using that communication method. As I mentioned earlier, when we do get any leads, we go through them thoroughly, do as much research as possible, have Teams calls, and obviously as soon as possible meet the client face to face. So look, in our advice from our exposure into China for Northern Ireland companies would be quite simple. Just start with a clear vision. Don't try and sell everything to everyone. It's a huge country. There's multiple sectors, so you've got to be quite strategic. Invest in those local partnerships early. They are totally critical for your market access and your credibility, and they're going to help an awful lot. You also got to be prepared to localize, not just with your product, but also your approach to business. How we work in China is a little bit different. Communication tools, apps, whatever, it's just a little bit different. If you do have other customers throughout the world or somewhere else in a different region that have a presence in China, it could be one of the most effective entry points. You've already got something tangible, so use that. And I guess finally, be patient. And although I said China, it can be quite quick, it's also a long-term investment. It takes time to build relationships, time to build trust, but the opportunities that will come will be significant when you get it right. And lastly, but not least, engaging with Invest NI, which leads into my next sort of overview. Finally, the role of Invest NI for our journey has been quite significant. They have supported us through market introductions, in-country expertise, through their China offices and people, opportunities to participate in trade missions and events, and they've got valuable guidance on the regulatory side of things, cultural considerations, a lot of which can be quite, I guess, daunting when you're trying to navigate that independently. So you've got the resource there, they've got the experience and people. Ultimately, the Invest in Northern Ireland support has helped us to time the market and risk, while enabling us to get the right connections early on. We've been to Invest NI supported events in China, or we've had support with the Invest NI contacts, doing translation, doing meeting preparation, setting up meetings with clients, follow-up emails after the events, discussions, even helping us with visa applications to make sure we can travel to China quite simply. We've also used Invest NI to look at potential Chinese clients or distributors, do a little bit of background checking because they've obviously got more resources. And we've also used them for discussions on IP protection, copywriting, etc. as well. So very, very valuable resource. Definitely use them to support you. So look, overall, China for us, it definitely has been challenging, right? But it's a very rewarding market. It's a huge market. We still believe that with the right approach, the strong partnerships, support from companies like Invest NI, it can represent a significant growth opportunity for Northern Ireland companies. Now, we do expect to gain more new clients and considerable sales over the next few years. And it's all through this whole process of building partnerships, building strengths, and building that reputation in the China market. So that's basically Sensoteq in China from our point of view today in this webinar. I appreciate your time and opportunity to share our experience.